Hey, welcome in, friends, to another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. We are coming to you from the mobile Oshner Health Podcast Studio, set up here at the Superdome, where we just watched the Saints beat the Cleveland Browns, and it is the second win in the Rizzi era. So we're going to break down what all of that means and where this team goes from here, what it means for their draft stock, all that stuff, what you should be cheering for, what you should be watching for, and the state of the Saints in general. If you are in the market for a new car, make sure you check out my guy, Matt Bowers. He's got the state-of-the-art dealership up there on Vets, the Ford one. Make sure you go check it out. But if you want an Infiniti, a Chevy, a Nissan, whatever you need, Matt's got you at one of his mini dealerships. So make sure you go and check him out at one of his locations. He'll get you into the car of your dreams or the car of your needs. So go check him out, and he'll get you right with the best prices. All right, we're going to get into the show right after this quick word from our wonderful sponsors. Oshner Health is proud to team up with the NFL and the New Orleans Saints' Crucial Catch mission to fight cancer and save lives. Crucial Catch helps more people access the tools they need to catch cancer early and promotes prevention and early detection of cancer.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com. All right, let's get into the show. Welcome back to NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee, coming to you from the mobile Oshner Health Podcast Studio. I'm Nick Underhill. He's Mike Triplett. He's Brandon Thomas.
Let's get into our first segment presented by Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. The Saints, all they know was winning during the Darren Rizzi era. 2 weeks, 2 wins. This time a more dominant win than last week against the Falcons. But Darren Rizzi wins another game. Is Rizzi Watch officially on?
Well, I mean, Rizzi, right now, guys, I don't know if you know this, he has a better winning percentage than Bill Belichick and Chuck Noll. And
not better than Sean Payton, though, right?
And Bill Walsh.
Not better than Sean Payton, though, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, no, he
Sean Payton never lost a game.
He has
right?
the best winning percentage in NFL history right now. So I don't know. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it means anything, to be honest. But look, I mean, they're definitely playing well. I mean, they did just beat the Browns. I mean, the Browns are a bottom 10 team in the league right now. So keep it in perspective. But they're winning games that, I don't know, a month ago it felt like they would have lost. So it means a little bit of something. I didn't know what to expect today. I kind of thought maybe it would be a tough game for them in some aspects. And I guess it ended up being that in the second half, running the ball and all that stuff, became a little bit harder until Taysom cut their hearts out with that long run. But, yeah, I mean, they're playing really good football right now in a certain sense. They're finding ways to come back from adverse situations, which it felt like they weren't doing before. They turned the ball over twice. That normally felt like something that would sink them in any other game, and it didn't. So there's something going on here for sure.
To answer your question, yes, Rizzi Watch is on. I mean, there is such thing as a point where he would become undeniable. I mean, obviously, if he finished 8-0, he would probably get this job. If he finished 7-1, he would probably get this job. Those are unrealistic expectations. Would he get this job at 5-3? I don't know. That means going 500 after the bye at this point. I don't know exactly what it has to look like, but not only is he getting this team playing better and playing with more energy, he's being credited with everything. He's being credited with rediscovering Taysom Hill. He's being credited with rediscovering Cam Jordan. He's being credited with rediscovering sacking the quarterback. All these things are being attributed to either something they did in practice or something that they had conversations about. It feels like a common sense approach to looking at this team and saying, yeah, we were bad at that, so we decided to fix it. I mean, the next thing you know, they're going to stop having hamstring and groin injuries for the rest of the season, and he'll get credit for that too. So there is a point where he would earn this job, and he has now won 1/4 of the games that he can win. So, I mean, honestly, if he goes 4-2 and finishes 6-2 as interim coach of the Saints, I think he'd probably become the front runner for this job. I mean, this buy-in has to continue, and there's a danger of that being temporary when reality hits this team a couple times. But reality threatened to hit this team in both of these last two games, and they shoved it aside.
I mean, I don't think the buy-in's really going anywhere as long as they keep winning games. And look, I think the fact that they won 2 allows them to lose this game to the Rams, and it's not conditional buy-in at that point. And I think that's kind of big because that's going to be a tough game. So it would kind of feel like, I mean, I think they're in an okay position right now. I'm not ready to give Rizzi this job. I think you got to win something. You got to win a lot more games here. But if they can beat the Rams, I think he really has a track to it, because you're going to beat the Giants too probably then, and then you might lose to the Commanders and you might lose to the Packers. But if you're Rizzi and you've won these 2 and then you lose to the Rams, you beat the Giants, you lose to the Commanders, you lose to the Packers, that might become a tough finish at the end of the year. Then that's a lot of losing, and kind of feels like you're back into something. Yeah. But I think he has a chance. So Watch is definitely on at this point. Right. That doesn't mean he's
not a Rizzi warning yet, but it's a Rizzi Watch.
Yeah, I mean he's made himself kind of.
Yeah,
he's made himself legit though. But look, they're definitely bought in. We were just talking to Alvin recently, and he couldn't have talked him up even more. He said, I love Rizzi. I think he's as far as a leader, someone that commands respect. And it's not in a dictator way. It's more so in he does what he's supposed to do, and as a result, that the respect comes with it. I think he's in a good spot. I think guys respond to him, and I think he's cerebral in his understanding of what needs to be done on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, to have to play winning football, to be successful, all the little things, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. It's different than he talked about the other regime, and I think his buy-in matters a lot. And I think his buy-in reflects a lot of what the rest of the team is feeling. I feel like he's a voice for a lot of the rest of the team, and he's bought in. Was at the Pelicans game with them. New Orleans teams are defeated in the last 7 days when Rizzi's in the building. I don't know what that means, but even the basketball team wins when he's around. So, look, I think people just really like him, and I think he's doing a good job. And I think that, I don't know, man, like football feels fun again. Like being around it, looking at it, being around the team, like it feels completely different right now.
Yeah, we've touched the iron before, and like, oh well, they are, probably trailing or something like that, and you touch it like, oh, I'm about to get burned again. They're about to find a way to lose this game. And they were tied today with the Browns. We were like, well, Jameis might pull something out and continue to strike down the field. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Like you said, Taysom Hill, he put the dagger and he cut their heart out. So this team is just, I don't know, the reset button, I know it's kind of cliche, but the reset button feels like it's been pressed on the things that they were doing to lose games throughout the season. Now, they didn't play a perfect game by any sense, but it's just the things that would burn the Saints in the past of going in, letting the team get bombs, and then letting your confidence dwindle and then letting them take over. It didn't happen. Now, granted, Cleveland had missed all the field goals that they attempted, but the Saints didn't rest on that. They didn't say, oh, well, we don't have to worry about anything and put it in cruise control. They continued to press. They continued to push. And even you talk about Alvin Kamara buying in and everything like that, the locker room vibes better. People are smiling. People are more optimistic about different things. So, hey, man, Rizzi is bringing stuff to the table that we haven't seen since the last regime. Plus, I mean, they get the bye week to start getting healthy again. So it's interesting to see.
I do want to point out, though, that while they're getting some results, it makes it easy to overlook some of the dumb stuff they're still doing.
They're still doing plenty.
Yeah, they're still doing a lot of dumb stuff against a better team. You might not get away with it. You aren't going to have every field goal be missed against you. At some point, someone's going to hit a field goal. Like a holding that gives them a new life is outrageous, and they were lucky to get away with that at the end of the half, and then they missed the field goal again. I mean, that was stupid. They got lucky in one spot where Jameis clocks the ball when he didn't need to, and then they attempt a field goal with like 14 seconds. Like, there was just a lot of stuff they got away with in this game. They turned the ball over twice, and you end up winning, so it's just like all good, and you're overlooking it. They need to clean that stuff up, but it's better to be getting the results and be trying to do it as you're winning instead of having that stuff cost you games. And in the past, I think, those things would have cost them a game.
Let's get into our next segment presented by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Is it time to start taking this team seriously again? Last week we looked at the bottom 10, and now you look again, the Saints are at number 10. So is it time to start taking this team serious again?
Yeah, I mean, the graphic that we just had on the screen with the upcoming schedule, they got the Rams next at home and coming off a bye. But one thing I'm really worried about this team, and it's not just the dumb stuff, it's just the are they not good enough stuff, is covering passing, pass defense. Now, Alontae Taylor and Kool-Aid McKinstry have got to get a lot better. Ugo Madi, they've got to get a lot better to make up for the guys who are missing. Jameis just threw for 395 yards today. They're about to get Matthew Stafford coming off of a 4-touchdown game with healthy Puka Nacua and healthy Cooper Kupp at his disposal. So is it time to take the Saints seriously? If they beat the Rams, I'm going to take them seriously. If the same thing that happens when they played the Rams last year and they get exposed, I think that's probably the best team left on their schedule. So I think we can find out the answer to this question in their very next game.
Yeah, I would warn the last time they won 2 games, everybody was ready to buy Super Bowl tickets, and we know how that went. So that wasn't a good outcome. I thought Kool-Aid played pretty decently today overall, but yeah, I mean, huge test next week. Much different test, much different quarterback, much different guys to cover and all that stuff. But yeah, as far as taking them seriously, I think they got to win another one. What does seriously mean, though? Like, that's the kind of the thing to define here. Like, is it, in a small sample series as playoff contenders? I mean, I think a lot would have to happen there. Really, they'd have to win their next 2 and hope Atlanta loses their next 2, and it's definitely doable. I think Atlanta has some tough games coming up over the next 2 that they could definitely lose.
Are they both on a bye next week together?
Falcons' next 2 games, let me see here.
I will say this. So the Saints are 2 games behind the Falcons while you're looking that up. Saints are 2 games behind the Falcons, which all of a sudden makes the NFC South look within reach. But the Falcons have already clinched a division record that the Saints can't match. So they're really 3 games behind the Falcons. They have to finish with – they can't finish tied with the Falcons. They have to finish with a better record than the Falcons, which means making up 3 games over their last 6.
Yeah, they got the Chargers and then the Vikings. I mean, they could definitely lose both those games, and they do have the bye right now. And then if the Saints win their next 2, I mean, at that point, I would probably have to start taking it seriously because they'd be tied. I mean, I think that's really looking so far ahead, though, right now. Like, it's just they got to just handle the thing that's kind of in front of them and kind of see where it goes from there.
Right.
And there still is, like, the whole – is the pursuit worth it? You know, is it worth it? Like, it does come at a cost. Like,
that question's out. I mean, that question's not being asked by anyone in the building, though. Even if it was, I don't think it ever was. It certainly isn't now. That is a question that is definitely
not for them, but I just mean like is a general cost to it. Like there is a downside to it if you don't make the playoffs. Like the pursuit of it does cost you in draft position and everything. And then the other part of that too is if this pursuit, and they're going to win a few more games. I think the ship has probably sailed on the idea of getting rid of the quarterback, getting rid of all this stuff. I think that the most very, very, unless the bottom goes out on it, if they win like 2 more games, Derek Carr's back and they're building out the depth and they think, you know what, the injuries were a big deal. They got healthy, played well. This team can be a playoff team next year with better depth and better protections. And I think if they win like 2 more games this year, and they're going to win 2 more games somewhere, I think that becomes just ironclad. Like that's going to be the path forward. And I don't see that grand reset coming that a lot of people want. So, I mean, there are 2 sides of this, but I think these 2 wins right now have put them on. I think Derek Carr is almost certainly back, and I think they're going to try to build out their depth.
We're going to talk about him later next segment, but just continuing on, the Saints, they face 3 teams that are 500 or better, so you still have to find ways to win those games. And some of those other teams that you play in between that, they might come with their best shot at you to try to kill the momentum that they've sustained up until now. But another thing is the Falcons got whooped by Sean Payton, the same way the Saints got whooped by Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. So we don't know what the NFC South is going to be. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are hurt. Probably when they play them at the end of the season, who knows what implications that game is going to have. But the question is the reality of a mid-teen pick plus missing the playoff worth it?
No, I mean, it's not. But, I mean, that doesn't – I mean, it's not. But that their path doesn't change. They're going to try to win these games, and they're going to try to do it. I mean, that's absolutely where it's at, though. I mean – yeah, I mean, it's not worth it. Like, it's not worth it because you look at it, going all the way to pick 14, still 4 wins. Like, it's very likely the way the league is set up this year, the Saints could have not a ton of wins and end up picking like 17th, like and not feel great about it. And that's a real reality right now because the bottom of the league is so bad. It is so bad right now, and it's kind of like you got all these teams that are terrible, and then there's like a line of demarcation, and then there's like all the other teams. And I mean, it's absolutely not worth it. But I mean, that's where they're going to end up, and that's what they're going to do, and they're going to chase it, and they're going to try to win. And it's kind of annoying on one sense, but on the other end, it's very admirable that this team just like no matter what never quits. And it does really speak to like the value of their like core veteran players and the things that they hold near and dear to them.
Yeah.
Just unfortunately, they haven't put enough talent around those guys to really take advantage of that feeling the last couple of years.
Yeah, and look, we talked about this on the pregame show a little last week. I mean, it's not where you don't want to have the 14th pick in the draft, miss the playoffs, lose out on that good draft pick. But there is some value in being in this locker room the last 2 weeks. I mean, that's 70 guys that had new life breathed into them. If you include the coaches, if you include the people in the front offices, hell, if you include the people in the tickets, like it's tough to go through the 3-14 season, especially when you're trying to win. So there is some value in winning, feeling good about yourself. We've talked about it a million times. The younger players, it'd be great if Talifuaga and Kool-Aid McKinstry win 6 of their last 7 games and they feel great about themselves. And Eric McCoy comes back healthy and feels. If Derek Carr says things like, "This is the best season I've ever had in my career," we're going to get to that. There is some value in your players feeling that way coming out of a season. It doesn't outweigh having the 4th pick instead of the 14th pick, but it is not a completely valueless thing. You know, winning carries some value.
It does, but I mean, you can just beat the Falcons and the Browns and have this amazing feeling in your building. You know, like the better pick is always better. I mean,
Yeah, of course.
There's definitely some value in it. People probably work a little bit harder in the offseason and all that stuff. But I don't know. Like, if you're resetting with a new coach and everything, like, I think if they hired a coach and they lost all their next 6 games and they're excited about the coach and they're excited about the draft pick, you can manufacture that too. I don't think it feels like a hopeless situation, but I mean, it isn't a completely worthless thing. I mean, there is some type of inherent value to it. It's just I don't think it comes close to outweighing the value of having, you know, a top number 2 pick or whatever. I think people will be really excited about that too and feel like help is on the way and all this stuff. And I could just picture, you know, Cam's tweeting about the pick the whole offseason if they're picking that high. Like, I think people would be bought into that too.
Sure, of course.
Even like in New England, Drake May didn't start off as a starter, but now you see him going toe-to-toe with teams like the Rams, and it's like, you know, they're losing, but they're excited about the
and his
future.
presence was definitely energizing for them. Like the whole summer.
For sure. Let's get into our next segment presented by Urban South. Is Derek Carr really playing the best football of his career?
You know what's funny? He has the highest passer rating of his career this season. I would not have guessed that, actually. It's been kind of quiet. I mean, he was so good in weeks 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Wasn't very good. Was terrible in week 5. Was bad again the first game back from the Ridge. I mean, I would have just guessed, this is probably like the middle of the pack for Derek Carr statistically. So I'm pretty surprised that the stats bear it out. Now, when he gave that quote after the game, he lumped in the end of last season, and we chronicled many times the last 5 games of last year. He had the best passer rating in the league. It was something like 15 TDs and 2 turnovers or something crazy like that. He's up now to 13 TDs and 4 interceptions this year. He's doing some things well. I would have guessed, you know, there was a year where he was getting MVP consideration, like 4 years into his career. There was a year he played really well under Gruden. So I would not have guessed that he felt that way, and there might be a little hyperbole in that, but he has done some things, you know, well in spurts. So I guess I'm not completely shocked to hear him say that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know he went to Chipotle after moving across the country, and that made him the shittiest quarterback ever in NFL history, and like that's just completely unforgivable. But yeah, I think he's been fine. Like I think he's been fine. I think he's played pretty good since he got here. He's not at all the problem with the team. Like, it's so insane to me every time I go online and like people are freaking out and they act like he's like this like big anchor and the worst player in the world, and it's like, what are you watching? Like, I can't even like respect that opinion because it's just like it's so far from like a factual basis of what's happening on the field. Let's be realistic about it. It can very much be true that this team doesn't make sense to have a $40 million quarterback where they're at, and yet he's not the worst quarterback in the league. Like, for a lot of teams, he can be okay. I just can't, like, the absolutism around Derek Carr is, like, so stupid to me. It's just so, I don't know, man. It just feels like a competition for engagement or whatever. Like, and I don't understand it, and I don't understand why people talk about him that way. Like, he's been fine. Like, he's not someone that you're signing and he's taking you to the Super Bowl, and he's also not someone that you sign and he sinks your franchise. Like, if you put him in a situation, he's fine. And I just don't think the Saints have put enough around him to elevate him. But I think you could maybe argue that today he elevated his team a little bit. Like, he was playing with Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Cedric Wilson.
And Foster Moreau, time and time again, made great throws to him.
So he got the job done today against a bad team. Granted, who cares? He beat the Browns. Great. Like, no one's, like coordinating him for that. But it's just like he's fine. Like, I just don't – it's just so baffling to me the way it is. Like, that needs to go out of sports conversation and all that. Like, why can't we just say, like, he's an average guy? Like, he's
it's funny. I've mentioned.
I don't understand.
We've used a lot of names when talking about him over the years, and I've just started to mention Russell Wilson as one. I mean, Russell Wilson was considered like an atrocity during his 2 years in Denver, and now he gets with a high-functioning Pittsburgh Steelers organization that plays defense and runs the ball, and Russell Wilson's the talk of the town. Like, he might win comeback player of the year now. Yeah. Like, sometimes your situation matters, and you can be a quarterback who isn't as bad as you've looked at your worst. And, you know, like, I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL that are in that category.
Like, he's objectively been pretty good this year, honestly. Like, he has. He's been pretty good. That Philly game keeps looking better and better. Like, they were in it, tough team. Philly might win the NFC this year. Like, they're good enough to do that. The Chiefs game, he was okay after he threw that pick in that game. It was a really bad game, really hard circumstances. Carolina coming back from the injury. I mean, I'm not making excuses for him. Like, I think he's been okay. The numbers are right there on the screen. 1,742 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how to have that conversation.
The word average isn't a sin. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a sin to say, oh, this person is average. It's cool. You talk about Russell Wilson. They won the game today and took control of their division. He didn't throw any touchdown passes. He just facilitated. There's no foul to the word average. You saw Derek Carr today. You talked about he threw to Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Like, MVS isn't in that type of tier of receiver to say, oh, well, yeah, he has a number one option. He's throwing to tight ends who have been more or less absent until, kind of today's game. They've had spurts here and there, but I don't see a problem with Carr.
Like, if someone wants to argue they're wasting their time with him because he's not elevating them, okay, like, I understand that. That's fine. Yeah. Like, that's fine. It's just like the whole he's the worst player ever. Like, I don't know, man. Like, this whole conversation is going to end up getting taken out of context and everything. And if you're taking it out of context, like, you're just missing the point anyhow. So, like, go ahead and comment however you want. But, like, the fact of the matter is, like, dude is having a decent year. Like, there are worse quarterbacks than him. And having said all that, there are a lot of times I look down at the field and say, like, I don't know if this makes sense for them, but he's not the problem.
Coming into the day, he had the 10th best QBR according to ESPN, 61.5. So
it went up today.
It went up today because he didn't have any real good talent marks against him.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing lender.
Here at the Queen Casino, indulgence knows no bounds. Prepare your taste buds for an extraordinary culinary journey. Start your day at Capital Coffee. Craving something different? 3 Woks Noodle Bar offers a tantalizing selection of Asian delights. At 1717 Kitchen and Cocktails, savor American cuisine with a twist. Or ascend to the loft for an elevated experience. Enjoy artesian grazing boards and exquisite craft cocktails. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome into the Oshner Health Podcast studio here in the Superdome. It is now time for our next segment presented by Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey, the Hard High player of the game. At certain points during this game, we were going between 3-4 people, but then towards the end, we were like, okay, we know exactly who the player of the game is going to be, and that's Taysom Hill.
I mean, he's going to be the NFC Offensive Player of the Week, too.
Like, and think about that. Look, that's a nice little accolade, but this man just got the Hard High player of the game.
Fair.
That's right.
Yeah, but
I'm saying also, like, in addition to, like, secondary.
He gonna cherish
and, like,
that.
we grade harder than them. Like, there's a standard here. And
Real top.
the standard is as high as Hard High, and they bring it just like Taysom brought it today. But, yeah, man, like, he turned the ball over twice, and then it was like a no-brainer that he was the selection. Like, usually you don't get to turn the ball over twice and be the player of the game, but, like, he was so good outside of that, it didn't matter.
You know, it's funny. I wrote about him after the game, and I had almost, like, forgotten. Oh, yeah, we spent the entire summer talking about how Taysom Hill's going to be the centerpiece of this offense, and it was the first time really week 11, is that what we're in now? Week 11, that he had a game where he was the real centerpiece. Now, there were hints at that, but he got hurt in week 3. He got hurt in week 2, did not play in week 3. Then he came out and scores 2 touchdowns early in the Atlanta game of week 4, and he breaks his ribs and he misses 3 games. And then he came back and he wasn't completely 100%. So this has just been waiting there all the time. And it's funny with Taysom Hill and Eric McCoy back on the field, half joking, half serious. It's like Clint Kubiak went back to like all these plays that he probably had to bury for a while when he just didn't have those guys. The creativity was awesome. It was career high 8 catches, career high 138 rushing yards. Who knew that Taysom Hill could set new career highs after the crazy stuff he's done? It was 2 passes, one very ill-advised because he threw an interception on it. First one he completed. The opening drive, he went pass, catch, run on 3 straight plays and got into the end zone. And as Darren Rizzi said afterward, when you're using him that much and you're using him at so many different positions, it affects the defense you're looking at. They have to go vanilla on defense because they're not sure what the matchup's going to look like and what he's going to shift to. Derek Carr said when you go empty, now he shifts over to tailback, and I'm handing the ball as tailback. When they decided to close out the game, Derek Carr left the field entirely. Taysom Hill was the closer. I mean, we've had these conversations so many times, and it was a reminder that, oh, yeah, he's still there. He just wasn't healthy this whole season.
Don't forget the 42 kick return yards.
It's
like
crazy.
Everything. Every way you would have wanted to see Taysom today. But I think you started off with you asked about where was the block punt, because that's the only thing I was missing. And there's no other way to put it but a Herculean effort that he put out on the field today. Let's go into our next segment. 3 up, 3 down. Who are 3 players we had up after today's game and 3 players we have down?
I'll start it out. I mean, give me both the tight ends. I thought they both played really good today.
Okay.
And
you taking 2 off the board at one time, boy. You selfish.
I mean, they both stepped up, though.
Yeah.
They both made a lot of plays. Foster should have had a touchdown. Carr missed him on that play. That was really kind of the only blemish I had. Big time on Carr's day today. There was an easy touchdown back there, and he damn near got picked off on it. But both those guys stepped up, and I thought really answered the bell today.
And look, Foster's most spectacular catch didn't count because it was called back by a penalty against Juwan Johnson. But he makes this ridiculous leaping grab, hurts himself in the process, but comes back in the game after that. So this could have been a monster day for Foster Moreau. And Juwan Johnson came back from that penalty. Not only did he have the great touchdown catch in the end zone, he was blocking like 80 yards down the field on Marquez Valdez-Scantling's touchdown. So I agree with you on both of those guys. Look, you just put Derek Carr, or you didn't put Derek Carr on the list. He was in our conversations for player of the game before Taysom Hill made it clear. Derek Carr's definitely in the up today, and I'll mention Valdez-Scantling. I'll let you decide if he's in the up or not, Brandon. Mm-hmm. But I was really impressed with that play because after Carr was feeling himself running for 8 yards for the first down on the bootleg early in the game, he rolls out on 3rd and 1, and he had a clear path to run for another 5 or 6 and start doing his own Taysom Hill impersonation. But he's still scanning the field, and he sees Valdez-Scantling get open for kind of a tough little throw across his body, but he recognized it, and then Valdez-Scantling goes another like 60 yards after the catch for a 71-yard touchdown. I did not think that was going to be possible after the book was out on him, but I thought that was the play of the game from Derek Carr.
MVS is definitely on the up list. He's not my first pick, but he's definitely on the up list because he's consistently showing, hey, I can make plays. You give me the ball, it looks like I'm about to get stopped. I can take it another couple of yards to get into the end zone. But my top pick as a whole, sticking with your thing, is the offensive line in a sense, but particularly depending on Taliese Fuaga, just eliminating Myles Garrett. His name wasn't mentioned throughout this game. And then for Taysom Hill, he does his things in his own right, but to get to the end zone like he was getting, to get those open holes and stuff like that, the offensive line has to block in a certain sense. So I'm going to go with them kind of as a group just because you get Eric McCoy back. You want to see how he shakes off the rust. Then they start kind of messing up a little bit in the second half, and then he goes out, and then pieces get thrown around again, but they still got the job done.
I'm going to follow up on that by putting Clint Kubiak in my 3-up. Nick said it before the game. I'm really looking forward to Nick's film study on this. You know, in Kubiak and Dennison and Benton and all those guys we trust because they somehow found a way to nullify Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence back in week 2 against the Cowboys. They've done it when they haven't had all their offensive linemen at their disposal. And he said, I don't know how they're going to do it against Myles Garrett, who had 3 sacks last week, but let's see. They usually seem to find a way. So I'm curious everything they did to help and how much was just Fuaga. But not only did we not hear Garrett's name, he does not appear on the stat sheet. No tackles, no hits, no. Maybe he had pressures. They don't put those on the stat sheet. I'll look in that while Nick's talking. But amazing how quiet Myles Garrett was.
My last up is Demario Davis. I thought he had a pretty good game in coverage. He had the fourth down stop, got low, got through, got the tackle. He really played well today. Stepped up, and had a big game. Other than that, I would give an honorable mention to Cam Jordan. I thought Cam had a good game today. Played 40+ snaps. Had a quarterback hit, I believe. He was active in the pass rush today, and the fountain of Cam is like it's working right now.
13 tackles for Demario Davis definitely belongs on that list.
Yeah.
And to answer the question, Myles Garrett, he had 2 QB pressures according to so he didn't have any tackles or sacks or tackles for loss or QB hits, but 2 QB pressures according to Next Gen Stats.
My final pick is Dante Pettis. Even though his touchdown was called back, he just seemed sure about himself as a returner. He got the ball, and he just kept going. And he would have popped if his foot wouldn't have went out, but I'm going to go with Pettis on that.
Yeah, that was a good switch by the Saints. They made some switches at receiver today. Mason Tipton, who is had a frustrating season, was inactive. They cut Jermaine Jackson yesterday, so that meant a lot more work for Dante Pettis and Kevin Austin Jr. in those places, and Pettis definitely showed up in the return game.
Let's hit the downs, fellas.
I'll start with the downs. My first down, Trevor Penning. I thought he had a rough game today. Definitely did not follow it up exactly how people would have liked him to after that last one. Gave up a strip sack at one point. Just wasn't a highly effective day for him. 2 pressures allowed overall, I believe, in this game. But I just didn't feel sturdy. It didn't feel sturdy. He had a costly penalty at one point. Like it's just the lack of consistency right now for me.
Second week in a row, I got to put Alontae Taylor in here. We do not know the assignments for sure. If he expected safety help on what was the distance on that touchdown? Jameis Winston to Jerry Jeudy for 89 yards.
He definitely got beat on the break. That isn't on anybody else. That looked like a man coverage, and it looked like he got beat on the break.
And then the Elijah Moore touchdown was on his side of the field too, right? So I don't know in both of those cases if he gets entire blame. But again, this is a guy auditioning to be a lockdown number 1 corner. He did not have the penalties this week. Last week it was 3 penalties. That wasn't the case this week, but he's going to have to come on a lot stronger. And as we said, the test gets a lot tougher next week against the Rams.
Chase Young had a good play when he ran in on the substitution and took him down. But overall, he only had 2 tackles. And that's with DeJuan Jones having a season-ending injury. They didn't capitalize off of the weakness on the offensive line. Jameis was still able to sit in the pocket, get rid of it, and things like that. So I'm going to have to put Chase Young on this list.
He did get credit for the half sack, too. So 2 plays, two standout plays. But, yeah, that's fair. There was still a not – I was kind of surprised the Saints ended up with 3 sacks. I think the situation of the game helped that. I would have liked to see more pressure. Like we said, they gave up 395 passing yards to Jameis in this game.
Now it's time for the Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's is so much more than just wine. Today's question comes from Charles Taylor. Charles asks, after the losing streak, there was stress that the Saints would find a way to lose. However, the last 2 weeks have bucked that trend. I'm not saying that the Saints are a great team, but it's time to think differently about how they will finish a game.
Yeah, I mean, it is because they aren't folding at the end of a game now. Like, they're closing it out in the fourth quarter. One thing Belichick used to always say is that the fourth quarter is like its own game. Like, you can play the first three, and then the fourth quarter, a whole new game starts. And I think previously the Saints weren't playing that second game very well, and I think right now they are. I mean, they were 21-0 in this game in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's a whole different feel than what they were providing before, and it always felt like they would find a way to lose and a way to fold. Last week against Atlanta, they almost did. They lost the second half 10-3, but they held on and found a way to close out the game, and they found out how to make the plays on defense. So, yeah, I really do. I really have a different type of confidence, and I'm not going to lie. At one point in the third quarter, when it got close, it was like, damn, they're going to find a way to lose this game, aren't they? Yeah. And that's like residual PTSD. And I don't think that's who they are right now. I think their DNA's changed a little bit. Granted, when you're playing the Rams, maybe that changes, but at least they're not finding ways to lose right now, and that's the difference. Like, I think a lot of teams in the league do stupid stuff, make stupid mistakes, and the good ones find ways to not let that beat them. They find a way to win. They find a way to come back. They find a way to make that last play. And right now, it's a 2-week sample, but right now, the Saints are doing that. So, yeah, I mean, I think it is time to kind of change that perception a little bit.
Yeah, what's amazing is the way these two games have played out. It's like the movie script where, all right, an hour and 30 minutes in, you have to show the adversity, and then the dark music has to play, and you just gave up the 30-yard touchdown pass to Elijah Moore, and now the game is tied. And, last week, at the end of the third quarter, you gave up the 37-yard touchdown to Bijan Robinson, and, like these were opportunities to fold. Like, Saints played the better game for 3 quarters and had nothing to show for it on the scoreboard. That was the time to fold, and they didn't do it either time. So it wasn't just like this was an easy game for them. They had to show mettle and resilience and everything in the fourth quarter, and they did it both times. Now, I do want to be a little careful of, like, grandiose statements because, as we pointed out last week, like, they would have won that Atlanta game and showed a ton of resilience back in week 4. And then, they come back and they score twice down the stretch. They take the lead, and then Younghoe Koo hits a 58-yard field goal. Yeah. Last week, they beat the Falcons, and Younghoe Koo missed 3 field goals. This week, the Browns kicker missed 3 field goals, 2 of them that counted. So, like, does that prove, some of that's situational, but there's no denying it, and it's been a point of emphasis. It was the talking point last week. Demario Davis gathered everyone on the sideline and said it going into the fourth quarter, had a speech, this is going to define us, and again this week, Darren Rizzi said finish was the word of the week and everything like that. So they've been talking about it, they've made a commitment to it, and they've delivered on it. You can't ignore that.
That'll do it for this edition of NewOrleans.Football. We appreciate y'all for rocking with us today. Even though the bye week is coming up, it's NewOrleans.Football, so you'll still get the latest information on the Saints. So keep it locked right here. Overtime is next. Catch you next time.